I'm Dan Kubisky with the Society of Professional Journalists International Community. On Saturday, March 7, Judge Royce C. Lamberth of the U.S. District Court in Washington ruled that the actions of Kari Lake and the Trump administration to close down the U.S. Agency for Global Media and with it, the Voice of America, violated the U.S. Constitution and the Federal Vacancies Reform Act. The three main plaintiffs are here to talk about that with us now. Patsy Widakuswara, who is the White House bureau chief for Voice of America, and Jessica Jerreat, Voice of America Press Freedom bureau chief. Ladies, thank you very much. I know this has got to be a great day for you. I bet there was a little bit of celebrating last night. Can I just get your reaction to the judge's decision? Jessica, why don't you go first?
Sure. I mean, we went into this lawsuit believing very strongly in our case, and as we said in our statement right after it, we feel really vindicated by this. We knew that what was happening wasn't right. We fought back, and this judge has agreed with us, has ruled that all of these actions were null and void, and it's a good feeling to know almost a year into the fight that we did the right thing and that the courts agree with us.
And Patsy?
Yeah, I mean, it still hasn't fully sunk in. It's been less than 24 hours since the ruling, and at this point when we're talking. So we're still trying to gather information from our lawyers as to what does this actually mean in terms of undoing all the harmful actions that Kari Lake has done, as soon as she walked in the door of our building, basically, because she has fired hundreds of our contractor colleagues. She has tried to lay off hundreds of the staff, and she's taken all these other harmful actions, dismantling infrastructure, canceling news wires, installing people within the editorial structure. So all of these things we need to know, and we need to find out like what actually can be undone, right? And as that happens, of course, we have to keep in mind that our goal is not to just go back to work, but also go back to work producing the kind of journalism that we've been famous for, we've been known for, and not turn into some sort of propaganda outlet. And that is our key goal, and we're going to stay focused on that.
You mentioned something that was in the back of my head as soon as I heard the ruling. How is this going to work? I mean, as you said, Lake canceled all the satellite services. She canceled the wire services. She canceled the lease for your new headquarters. And I know you and your teams all want to do the real journalism that you've done, that the agency has done for the past 80 plus years. What's next? Where do you go now?
Well, it'll be really interesting to see what happens in the next few days in terms of how the defendant, Kari Lake, is going to follow or not follow the judge's orders. We have seen from her public statement that she intends to appeal. She has been saying all these disparaging things to the judge. So we can tell that this is not going to be an easy process in trying to get her to follow the judge's ruling. So we'll be really looking at that closely. Of course, all of our colleagues would be wondering as well, what does this mean in terms of their professional future? When are we going to be allowed to go back to work? When are we going to be allowed to tell America's stories to the world and fulfill our congressional mandate, especially because Congress has just given us $200 million for FY 2026. So we'll see what happens in the next few days. It'll be very critical.
Jessica, do you have any comments you'd like to add?
Not just from that. I mean, it's just you have a big milestone like this and it feels really good. But I think Patsy, Kate Nieper, who's our US AGM Director of Strategy and one of our named co-plaintiffs, and I always feel like you have this moment of celebration, but there's also a sense of there's so much more work to be doing, and that this is important for our full-time staff, but also, as Patsy said, our contractors. Now, some of the actions in the past year, well, some of us, like Patsy and I, are on admin leave. We've been able to, through the court rulings, retain our benefits and our pay. But many of our contractors, who in many ways were the backbone of what we did at Voice of America, brought all that expertise and knowledge to our 49 language services. Their contracts were cut by Kari Lake in sort of June, July last year. And I mean, all journalists understand the economic climate that we're in now. So we're really just working and listening to our lawyers right now about what this might mean, particularly for our colleagues who VOA was a lifeline for the contractors. It was a lifeline for money and just an outlet for their journalism, and also for some of our vulnerable colleagues who had visas dependent on Voice of America. There's a lot of questions that we'll be waiting very anxiously for the answers for now.
Yeah, and just to expound on that a little bit, Dan, the colleagues were dependent on their employment to VOA for their visas, these so-called J1 colleagues. Many of them, most of them have left the US. I mean, they were yanked out of their homes, their children were pulled out of school. They may have to sell their mortgages or pack up their apartments in a matter of weeks when Lake said that their employment was terminated. So this is also a really crucial time for us to find out what happens to them. We are, of course, supporting them and thinking about them at this time. And we hope that in the next couple of days and weeks, it'll be clear for them, what options are available for them, whether they can come back to VOA or not. Those are really questions that we want to know about.
I mean, because Jessica did, raise the issue of the non-American citizens who were working here, who were on contract. I know several of them were filing suits to try to stay. Is there anything you can fill us in on how some of these are going?
I don't have any updates on that at the moment, but a strong reason, I think, for all of us to fight so hard for this, and for Patsy, Kate, and I to stand up as named plaintiffs, is to be the voice for the more vulnerable colleagues whose situations are not as stable as us as American citizens. They do incredible work at great risk to them and their families just to do journalism, just do what we're actually all here to do at Voice of America. And they're I think that we keep them in our hearts, but we'll keep fighting for them and for all of our colleagues.
And there also are unnamed co-plaintiffs, Dan. So they are the John Does in our lawsuit, Widakuswara v. Lake. There's 4 John Does. These are our vulnerable journalist colleagues who are so brave and so courageous to sign on to this lawsuit. And don't forget that the dozens of VOA colleagues who are on these J1 visas, they're needed more than ever now as the US under the Trump administration goes on to these foreign policy with conflicts everywhere, with developments happening in Iran, as well as Venezuela, as well as other places. These colleagues have not only the language skills, but also just the local sources and networks and just the ability to be able to provide our global audiences with the knowledge, the inside knowledge and the sources and the connection. And that really just makes our reporting unmatched.
Right. Well,
and also I think sorry to interrupt, but I think it also makes us, as journalists, we're impatient to get back in the newsroom, but the reality is that there's still a way to go with the lawsuit, but it's hard at the moment. There's such a need, like Patsy said, for Voice of America with what's happening in Venezuela, in Nigeria, in Ukraine, in the Middle East right now. And VOA was mandated, it was set up for this moment to broadcast credible, authoritative, independent news to the most significant regions of the world. And we're seeing the US playing a big role in these really significant regions. And Voice of America is reduced to a skeleton of just a handful, like 4 or 5 language services, putting out a fraction of what we were putting out. So this is a really significant win. All of the journalists, we are raring to get back in because we know that our audiences need us. We were cut off nearly a year ago without being able to say anything to our audiences about what happened. And with all of this news and this global affairs right now, it's more important than ever that VOA remains a strong journalistic independent operation.
Okay. Patsy, would you, I want to take that, Jessica, as your last word, okay?
No, I think it's the same last word for both.
Would you like to add anything?
It's absolutely the same last words for both Jessica and I, as well as our co-plaintiff, Kate Nieper, and all of our other co-plaintiffs, including the 4 labor unions and Reporters Without Borders, is that our main goal is to restore VOA into its global operations and to keep us producing journalism, not propaganda. That is so key, especially right now with so many developments around the world. It's important for VOA to continue broadcasting authoritative news and not just the administration's point of view. We were never created to be the administration's mouthpiece, any administration's mouthpiece. So we just want to continue producing journalism.
Well, and we're, the Society of Professional Journalists, all legitimate journalist organizations in the world are on your side on that issue. We really do want to see the excellent journalism that Voice of America was known for to return. So, Jessica, Jerreat, Patsy, I am so bad with you. I'm just going to say thank you, Patsy.
Thank you, Dan.
And good luck, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support and for the SPJ support through this as well. The solidarity from the press freedom community means so much to all of our colleagues.